Ilaris stood alone in the Hall of Names, where the air was always still and cold. The crystal walls glowed with the light of ancestors long gone. Each name shimmered like a quiet star, carved deep into memory and stone. For thousands of cycles, her family line had guarded this place. Now only one empty space remained at the end of the wall, waiting for a name that would never be written. She pressed her hand against the smooth crystal and felt nothing. No warmth, no echo. That silence hurt more than any wound she had ever taken. Her daughter's name should have been there. Lyrian had been the last hope of their bloodline. Bright-eyed, stubborn, and full of questions, she was born during a red storm which the elders said was a sign of change. Ilaris had not believed in signs back then. She believed in training, duty, and survival. She raised Lyrian to be strong in a universe that did not forgive weakness. Then came the war at the edge of the system. Ilaris still remembered the day Lyrian left. Her armor was too new, her blade too clean. She had smiled with confidence that felt borrowed. "I will return," she said, like it was a simple thing, like promises could bend fate. The return signal never came. The fleet reported heavy losses, bodies unrecovered, names listed as fallen lost to space. Lyrian's name was among them, no remains, no final words, just absence. In their culture, a lost body meant a lost soul. Without death rites, the spirit wandered forever. Without a descendant, the family line ended in silence. Ilaris endured the mourning rituals alone. The elders came, one by one, offering soft words that sounded empty. They spoke of honor and sacrifice. They spoke of acceptance. When they left, they took the family crest from her door. That act hurt more than the news of Lyrian's death. It was the final confirmation that everything Ilaris had protected was gone. She stopped wearing ceremonial colors after that. Years passed, the galaxy shifted, new treaties were signed, new species joined the alliance. Humans arrived during that time, loud and curious, full of emotion they did not hide. Ilaris watched them from a distance. She did not trust creatures who smiled so easily after so much destruction in their own history. Humans reminded her of Lyrian. That thought made her angry, so she buried it. Ilaris took a post on the outer station, far from politics and memory. She became efficient, silent, and precise. Other officers respected her skill but avoided her presence. Grief had shaped her into something sharp. One quiet cycle, a transmission arrived from a long-range gate. It was marked as low-priority civilian docking request. Ilaris almost ignored it. Almost. The file listed 2 passengers, one unidentified human male, one unknown hybrid child. No family registry matched the genetic data. But the second name made her chest tighten. Mother unknown, father human, maternal origin, Ilaris bloodline. Her breath caught, her vision blurred. She read it again, then again. Impossible. Her family line had ended. The elders confirmed it. The rituals were complete. Lyrian was gone. And yet here was data that should not exist. Ilaris ordered the station to grant docking clearance. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. She told herself it was a mistake, a cruel error in the system. Humans were known for chaos. Perhaps they had interfered with something they did not understand. The docking alarm sounded softly through the station. Ilaris stood straighter. Her heart pounded like it had not in years. If this was a lie, she would endure it. If it was truth, she did not know if she could survive it. The door to the arrival corridor slid open. And for the first time since her daughter vanished into the dark, Ilaris felt something other than grief begin to rise. Hope terrified her more than loss ever had. The arrival corridor smelled of metal and recycled air. Ilaris stood at a distance, her posture formal, her face calm by habit. Inside, everything was shaking. She told herself again that mistakes happened. Data could lie, hope could be cruel. The door opened with a soft, mechanical sound. First came the human. He was taller than most of the station crew, broad in the shoulders, wearing simple travel clothes instead of armor. His hair was dark, his face marked with lines of exhaustion and quiet worry. He did not look like a warrior. He looked like someone who had traveled too long without rest. Behind him walked a small figure. The child's steps were careful, almost shy. Her skin carried the faint glow of Alaris's species, soft silver beneath the station lights. Her eyes were large and curious, shaped like her people, but their color was warm and deep like a human's. Dark curls framed her face, refusing to stay neat. Alaris felt her knees weaken. That face was wrong. No, it was familiar. The child looked up, scanning the corridor, and her gaze stopped on Alaris. Her eyes widened not in fear, but in recognition she could not explain. She took a small step forward, then another. The human gently placed a hand on the child's shoulder. "Easy, Myra," he said quietly. That name struck Alaris like a physical blow. Myra, a name from old family songs, a name that had not been spoken in generations. Alaris forced herself to move. She walked forward, slow and controlled, until she stood a few steps away. The station guards watched closely, hands near their weapons. Hybrids were rare. Human involvement made them nervous. Alaris looked at the human. "State your purpose," she said. He met her eyes without challenge. "My name is Adam," he replied. "I came because this is the only place left that might answer her questions." He nodded toward the child. Alaris lowered her gaze to the small figure. "And her mother?" she asked. Adam's jaw tightened. Her name was Lyrian. The corridor seemed to tilt. Alaris did not speak. Her thoughts screamed, but her voice would not come. The name sounded wrong in his mouth, yet painfully real. She studied his face, searching for lies, for fear, for anything that proved this was a deception. She found none. Myra stepped closer. She tilted her head, studying Alaris like a puzzle. "You feel loud," the child said softly. The words were simple, but the meaning was deep. Only Alaris's people spoke that way, sensing emotional presence instead of sound. Adam looked surprised. "She means you're feeling a lot," he added, unsure. Alaris slowly knelt, lowering herself to the child's level. Her movements were careful, like approaching something fragile. "Who taught you that way of speaking?" she asked. Myra shrugged. "Mama did before she slept." That sentence broke something inside Alaris. "Where is your mother now?" Alaris whispered. Myra's eyes dropped. "She didn't wake up after the bad place," she said. "Papa says she went into the stars." Adam swallowed hard. He looked away, his hand tightening into a fist. Alaris stood abruptly. The pain was too sharp, too real. This was not a system error. This was memory, and blood and loss returned in a form she did not understand. "You claim this child belongs to my bloodline," Alaris said, her voice cold again. "Such claims require proof." Adam nodded. "I expected that. I didn't come asking for trust, just truth." Medical scans were ordered. Genetic analysis followed. The process took hours. Alaris waited in silence, watching Myra draw shapes on the floor with her fingers, light forming where she touched. Old abilities, rare ones. Abilities passed only through family. When the results arrived, the station commander read them twice before speaking. "The child is confirmed," he said. "Direct descendant, no doubt." The words echoed through the room. Alaris felt the world narrow to a single point. Her family line had not ended. It had survived in secret, carried across stars by a human and a daughter she had buried in her heart. But relief did not come. Instead, anger rose. Lyrian had lived, had loved, had died alone. And no one had told her. Alaris looked at Adam, her eyes sharp and burning. "You kept her from us," she said. Adam did not deny it. "She was afraid," he answered. "Not of you, of your world." That was the moment Alaris understood. This reunion would not heal old wounds easily. It would tear them open first. Alaris walked away from the corridor, her armor clinking softly in the quiet station. The sound reminded her of old rituals she had once performed with Lyrian by her side, training, meditations, lessons whispered in the twilight. Those memories were supposed to be closed chapters, but now they haunted her like ghosts that would not rest. She did not notice Myra trailing behind, her small steps careful, soft, persistent. The child did not speak. She only watched, eyes wide and searching, as if hoping that silence would coax the answers from her mother. Adam followed them hesitant, sensing the tension that hung thick like a storm cloud. "Ilaris," he said gently, "I didn't mean to." Ilaris stopped and turned, her gaze sharp, cutting through his words. "Didn't mean to what?" she demanded. "Take my daughter, hide her, leave me to mourn." Adam's throat worked. "I kept her safe, that was my only choice." Ilaris's lips pressed together, a hard line of anger and disbelief. Every fiber of her being screamed at him. She had trained for wars, battles that tore planets apart, and yet this betrayal felt worse. Worse than 1,000 fallen soldiers. Myra tugged at Ilaris's cloak. "Mama," she asked, using the word instinctively. The word struck Ilaris like a lightning bolt. Her knees went weak, her hands shook, but she did not bend to comfort the child. Not yet. "Do you even know what you've done?" Ilaris's voice was low, trembling despite the cold control she tried to maintain. "Do you know how long I thought you were gone forever?" Adam swallowed again, struggling to find words. "I know, I can't bring back the years you lost, but I did what I had to." She needed a life before she could know her mother. Ilaris's eyes burned. "A life," she repeated almost to herself. "You call hiding her living." Myra stepped closer, holding out a small hand. "Mama," she whispered, "I'm here now, I'm real." Ilaris froze. The child's innocence and truth cut through the rage. For a single heartbeat, she saw the echo of Lyrian in Myra's eyes, the same spark, the same stubborn curiosity, the same gentle defiance. She saw what she had feared she'd lost forever. But grief twisted that vision into guilt. She could barely look at Myra without feeling the weight of years lost, of hugs never given, lessons never taught, stories never shared. Adam's voice came again, quieter this time, almost pleading. "She remembers you. She talks about you every cycle. Please let her see you as more than a ghost." Ilaris's chest tightened. She wanted to turn away, to retreat into the fortress she had built around her heart. She had survived countless battles, braved cosmic storms, and faced death without flinching. But now, confronted with this small human hybrid child, her daughter's reflection, she felt exposed, raw, and fragile in a way she had not felt since Lyrian had disappeared. Myra looked up at her again, her small voice firm. "Mama, I don't care about the years, I care about you now." The simplicity of that statement shattered her control. Ilaris bent slowly, bringing herself down to Myra's level. She held her hands out, trembling. The child hesitated, then stepped forward. For a brief moment, nothing existed outside that touch. The long years of pain, the fear, the anger. Only the warmth of life returned. Ilaris's eyes blurred with tears she refused to shed, and Myra rested her tiny hands in her mother, holding on as if anchoring herself to reality. Adam watched from the side, silent, unsure whether to speak or step closer. He could only see the beginnings of a bond rekindled, a fragile bridge between the past and the present. Ilaris finally spoke, her voice low and steady despite the storm inside her. "Tell me everything, every cycle, every place, every danger. I need to know who my daughter became while I mourned her as lost." Myra's face lit up with excitement, her energy spilling into the quiet room. I will tell you everything." Adam exhaled, relief washing over him, but Ilaris could see that the path ahead would not be simple. Trust had been broken, time could not be reversed, pain could not be erased. Yet standing there holding Myra's hands, Ilaris felt a spark she had thought lost forever. The spark of hope, fierce and untamed, flickering against the darkness of years spent in grief. This reunion, she realized, was only the beginning. Her family line had survived, but healing would demand courage, patience, and the willingness to confront truths she had buried deep in her heart. And for the first time in cycles, Ilaris believed that she could face them. Ilaris stayed awake long into the artificial night of the station, her thoughts a whirlwind she could not calm. Myra slept in a small cot nearby, curled into a blanket that Adam had brought. The child's chest rose and fell gently, but even in sleep, the hybrid's presence was alive with energy, curious, intelligent, and full of promise. Ilaris traced the edge of the blanket with her fingers, her mind pulling at memories long buried. She remembered Lyrian as a child, laughter echoing through the training halls, determination burning in her eyes, and that stubborn streak that often got them both into trouble. And now somehow a piece of that spirit lived on in Myra. The resemblance was impossible to ignore. Every tilt of her head, every thoughtful frown, every quiet curiosity reflected a life she thought had been extinguished forever. Adam entered quietly, careful not to wake Myra. "You should rest," he said softly. "She needs stability, and so do you." Ilaris shook her head. "Rest comes later," she replied, her voice low, strained. "I need answers now." Adam's face tightened. "I told you some of it already. Myra was kept hidden for safety. The war, the factions, the threats, your people's enemies didn't disappear when you thought Lyrian was lost. She had to survive." Ilaris's hands clenched. Survive alone, in the hands of strangers. Rage, fear, and love collided in her chest. She could barely breathe. "You decided what was best without me. You chose to raise my daughter in the shadows while I mourned her as dead." Adam flinched but did not retreat. "Yes," he admitted, "and I would do it again if it meant keeping her alive. You were gone. The fleet lost contact. There was no certainty, only danger. I made a choice. I accepted the consequences." Ilaris's gaze fell to the floor. She wanted to hate him, and a part of her did, but another part, darker, quieter, understood the impossibility of his decision. Lyrian had been clever, skilled, capable of surviving almost anything. But a child? Her daughter as a child in a universe full of predators. That fear, Adam had carried it for years alone. The station lights flickered softly, and for a moment silence stretched between them. Then Myra stirred, lifting her small head and blinking sleepily. "Mama," she whispered, voice soft and uncertain. "Are you still here?" Ilaris knelt beside her cot, her heart breaking at the vulnerability in the child's tone. "I'm here, Myra," she said gently, her hand reaching out to brush a lock of hair from the child's face. "I will always be here now." Myra's lips curled into a small, trusting smile. "I thought I might have been a dream," she admitted. "I hoped you were real." Ilaris swallowed hard. The weight of years, the grief, the pain of absence pressed down on her, yet in that moment it became almost bearable. "I'm real," she whispered, "and I never want you to doubt that again." Adam watched them, feeling the distance between them shrink. He had carried the burden of their secrecy, of knowing Ilaris might never forgive him. Yet seeing them together, he glimpsed the fragile threads of family beginning to weave themselves back into existence. Ilaris rose and turned to Adam, her eyes sharp but softer than before. "Tell me everything," she demanded. "Every place you went, every danger she faced. I need to understand what I missed. I need to know what my daughter endured." Adam nodded. "It won't be easy. Some of it is dark, dangerous, but she survived. And she learned things you never taught her. She is stronger than anyone imagined." Ilaris studied Myra, who now sat up in her cot, listening intently. Her eyes, wide and shining, reflected an innocence untouched by years of secrecy, yet also a wisdom beyond her age. Ilaris felt both pride and sorrow. Pride that her bloodline had survived. Sorrow for all the lost years that could never be recovered. The station hummed softly around them, but the walls could not contain the storm within Ilaris. Her mind swirled with questions. Who had threatened Myra? How had Adam protected her for so long? And most of all, how could she rebuild the connection with a child who had grown in a world she barely understood? Myra's small voice broke the silence again. "Mama, will you teach me things, like you and Lyrian used to do?" Ilaris felt a lump form in her throat. She wanted to say yes immediately, to promise everything. But she also knew that rebuilding trust, love, and family would take time. And yet, for the first time in countless cycles, she believed it could happen. "Yes," Ilaris whispered finally, her hand resting lightly on Myra's shoulder. "I will teach you. We will start anew together." And in that moment, though shadows of the past lingered, a fragile light bloomed between them, an ember of hope that refused to die. The war had taken much, but it had not taken everything. Her family line was alive. Her daughter had returned. And for the first time in years, Ilaris allowed herself to believe that the future could be different. The next cycle, the station was quiet in a way that felt almost unnatural. Ilaris had requested time alone with Myra, wanting to bridge the gap between absence and presence before the busy hum of station life pulled them apart. They sat in a small training chamber, the walls glowing softly with simulation lights, designed to help the young adapt to the hybrid abilities flowing through her veins. Myra was restless with curiosity. Her eyes darted to the panels, the lights, the tools scattered around the room. "Mama, can you show me the fire tricks, the ones that make light dance?" she asked eagerly. Ilaris smiled faintly, though her heart still bore the weight of old scars. "Those tricks," she said carefully, "require focus, patience, control, not just power." Myra's small face scrunched up. "I have patience. I practiced with Papa." Ilaris's lips twitched in amusement. Adam had clearly been teaching her, but this was different. This was their bond, forged from shared blood and memories that Adam could never replicate. She guided Myra to stand in the center of the chamber, placing her hands gently on the child's shoulders. "Concentrate on the energy inside you," Ilaris instructed. "Don't think about fear, don't think about danger, only the light you carry." Myra's eyes closed and the chamber grew still. A faint glow began to emerge from her palms, soft and wavering at first. Ilaris felt a flicker of pride, but also a pang of caution. The child was young, untested. The universe outside the station was still dangerous, filled with predators who would exploit any weakness. Suddenly the glow pulsed violently, brighter than intended, and sparks flew across the chamber. Myra gasped, stumbling backward, fear flashing across her features. Ilaris caught her, steadying her with both arms. "You must control it," Ilaris said firmly but not harshly. "The light is part of you. It is not separate. You cannot fight it. You must guide it." Myra nodded, trembling. I can do it, Mama," she whispered. Ilaris tightened her hold for a moment, then released her. The child took a deep breath, and this time the light emerged with grace, dancing like silver ribbons around her fingers. Ilaris watched, eyes misting slightly as the glow reflected in Myra's wide, eager eyes. This was more than training. This was survival, heritage, and connection all at once. Adam watched from the doorway, silent but amazed. "She's remarkable," he murmured. Ilaris did not answer immediately. Her mind was focused entirely on Myra. "Remarkable," she echoed softly, "because she is ours, because she carries both life and memory, because she survived." For the first time since Lyrian's disappearance, Ilaris allowed herself to imagine a future where they were together. A future where fear did not dominate their lives, where loss was not a constant shadow, and where love could grow even through pain. But the joy was fragile. A sudden alert sounded through the station, flashing red across the chamber lights. Adam's brow furrowed. "Incoming vessel, unregistered, unknown intent." Ilaris's body stiffened. Years of experience, years of surviving war and betrayal surged through her muscles. She stepped in front of Myra, instinctively protective. "Stay behind me," she ordered. The human security team activated weapons panels, and the chamber doors locked automatically. The incoming ship appeared on the display, a sleek vessel, its markings unfamiliar. The sensors pulsed with erratic energy readings. Whoever they were not simple travelers. Myra's small hand found Ilaris's, gripping tightly. "Mama, I'm scared," she admitted. Ilaris squeezed her hand gently, forcing calm into both herself and the child. "Fear is natural," she said softly, "but courage is choosing to act despite it." The tension in the chamber grew like a living thing. Ilaris's mind raced. If this vessel carried enemies, it could endanger Myra and the fragile bond they were building. If it was a trap, the family line could be at risk again before it had a chance to grow. Adam stepped forward. "I can help," he offered, though the worry in his voice betrayed his doubt. Ilaris shook her head. "This is our trial," she said quietly, glancing at Myra. "Not yours, not mine, ours." Myra's eyes widened, but she nodded. Even in fear, she understood. The bond she shared with her mother was no longer abstract. It was tested in light and shadow, in the unknown and the danger that always followed their bloodline. The incoming vessel's hull appeared on the screen, now close enough to see movement. Ilaris's hand tightened around Myra's. The light inside the child pulsed faintly, responding instinctively to her emotions, reflecting both fear and bravery. Ilaris inhaled deeply, her mind sharpening like a blade. Whatever came through that docking bay, she would face it, not just as an officer, not just as a warrior, but as a mother protecting the continuation of a line that had survived impossible odds. And Myra, small but fierce, would face it alongside her. For the first time in cycles, Ilaris did not feel alone. She felt alive, ready to fight for family, for legacy, and for the fragile ember of hope that burned brighter than any darkness. The doors hissed open. The test had begun. The docking bay doors opened slowly, and the lights of the station reflected off the sleek hull of the unknown vessel. Ilaris's heart beat in rhythm with the alarms, each pulse reminding her that danger could arrive at any moment. Myra clutched her hand tightly, her small body trembling, but her eyes were wide with determination, a courage she had inherited without even realizing it. A figure stepped out of the ship. At first, it was impossible to see clearly through the visor of their suit, but as they drew closer, the features became recognizable. Not human, not like any species Ilaris had trained against. A hybrid, perhaps, one of the many factions that had arisen after the war, unpredictable and dangerous. Ilaris positioned herself between Myra and the stranger, her stance rigid, weapon ready but unraised. "Identify yourself," she commanded, her voice cutting through the tension like steel. The stranger paused, then slowly lifted their visor. Their face was human enough to seem familiar, yet alien in structure, with eyes that glimmered in strange patterns. "I mean no harm, yet," they said softly, almost as if apologizing for existing in her space. Adam stepped forward, hand hovering near his own weapon. "Who are you?" he demanded. "What do you want from us?" The stranger's gaze flicked to Myra, lingering longer than it should. "The child," they whispered. "She is powerful, dangerous. She belongs to no one, yet everyone wants her. I only wish to speak." Ilaris narrowed her eyes. "Speak here or leave, no threats." The stranger nodded slowly. "I know of your bloodline," they said. "Your daughter carries an ancient ability, one that could tip the balance of power in the galaxy. That is why you must be careful." Myra's grip on her mother's hand tightened. "Mama, what does that mean?" she asked, voice small but curious. Ilaris crouched to Myra's level, her tone low but firm. "It means you are important, Myra, important enough that people will want to control you, but no one will, not if I can help it." The stranger laughed softly, almost sadly. "You underestimate the world. Bloodlines like yours are rare. They do not survive by hiding, and yet you have hidden, clever but fragile." Ilaris's eyes blazed. "We do not hide anymore, and we do not cower. If you think to threaten this child, you will regret it." The stranger tilted their head, eyes glimmering with intelligence. "I do not threaten. I offer knowledge, the ability to train her to control her gifts fully, to understand the legacy she carries, but she must choose." Myra's gaze shifted between the stranger and her mother. She hesitated, unsure, sensing the gravity of the words. I want to learn," she said quietly, "but only with Mama." Ilaris nodded, squeezing her hand reassuringly. "We will learn together," she said firmly. "No one decides for you, not now, not ever." The stranger studied them both, their expression unreadable. "Very well," they said finally. "But know this, the galaxy will not wait for your choices. Enemies and allies alike will arrive. You must be ready." Adam exhaled sharply, tension leaving his shoulders slightly. "They're right," he said. "The galaxy is dangerous, but at least now we know we can prepare." Ilaris's mind raced. Years of planning, battles, and loss had brought her here. She had trained for threats, yet protecting a child who was also her daughter added a weight no battle armor could bear. Her anger, her fear, and her love blended into something sharper and fiercer than any weapon she had held. Myra's hands glowed faintly, the energy responding to her emotions. Ilaris felt the warmth of it, a bond between mother and child that went beyond words or training. "We will be ready," she said quietly, almost to herself. "We will face what comes together." The stranger nodded once, stepping back toward their vessel. "Then I will watch," they said, and when the time comes, you will know what must be done." As the docking bay doors hissed closed, the station fell silent once more. Myra leaned against Alaris, exhausted but alert. Adam placed a protective hand on Alaris's shoulder, and she felt the weight of responsibility settle fully onto her. Her family line had survived the impossible, but survival was only the beginning. Now came the test, to protect, to teach, and to prepare Myra for a universe that would challenge her at every step. Alaris looked at her daughter, seeing both the child she had lost and the person she was becoming. "We have a long path ahead," she said softly, "but we will walk it together, always." Myra smiled, small but determined. "Always," she echoed. And in that moment, in the quiet after the storm, Alaris knew that whatever threats awaited, the bond they shared, blood, love, and trust, was stronger than any shadow that dared to follow them. The first true step of their new life had begun. Days passed slowly on the outer station. Alaris, Adam, and Myra formed a fragile rhythm, one born from necessity and renewed hope. Training sessions filled the daylight hours. Myra absorbed every lesson with eager determination, her small hands shaping energy with more precision than Alaris had dared to expect. The child laughed sometimes, a pure sound that warmed the cold halls of the station, a sound Alaris had longed to hear for years. At night, Alaris would stand by the observation windows, looking out at the stars. Each point of light reminded her of the battles lost and the ones survived, of the family names etched in crystal halls, and of Lyrian, her daughter, gone yet alive through Myra. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future where her line would flourish again, free from fear and shadow. Myra came to her one evening, small hands holding a makeshift star chart she had drawn. "Mama, I want to visit other stars someday, learn what's out there," she said with earnest eyes. Alaris knelt beside her. "You will, Myra, and I will be with you. We will explore the universe, but we will also be ready for whatever it hides." Adam watched quietly from the doorway, recognizing the bond growing stronger each day. He had protected Myra for years, but this, the love between mother and child, the shared history and blood, was irreplaceable. He felt like an outsider in the most important moment of his life, yet he stayed, offering support where it was needed most. Suddenly, a faint vibration ran through the station. Sensors blinked urgently. Alaris's trained instincts ignited. She moved swiftly to the command console, Adam at her side, Myra following with a mix of fear and excitement. The display showed multiple vessels approaching, some civilian, some military. The universe, it seemed, had not forgotten them. But this time, Alaris did not feel helpless. She felt power, control, and most importantly, unity. Her daughter stood beside her, Adam supporting them, a small family forged in loss but rebuilt through courage. "Whatever comes," Alaris said, her voice firm, "we face it together. No one separates this family, not today, not ever." Myra's hands glowed faintly, energy responding to the emotional strength of her mother. Alaris placed her hands over Myra's, guiding the flow, shaping it, grounding it. The warmth, the power, the life within her daughter pulsed like a heartbeat echoing through the chamber. Adam's voice was low, almost reverent. "You've trained her well," he said, "but more than skill, you've given her roots." Alaris allowed herself a small smile, though her eyes remained sharp. "Roots are only the beginning," she said. "Strength comes from knowing who you are and what you fight for." As the vessels drew closer, Alaris activated the station's defensive protocols. Lights shimmered, shields hummed, and energy lines traced through the hull like veins. She and Myra moved in tandem, teaching and guiding each other in real time, each pulse of power precise, deliberate, and unbreakable. The unknown forces of the galaxy tested them. Warnings flashed, threats arrived, and shadows sought to intimidate. But Myra's laughter rang through the hall, a bright sound that no darkness could contain. Alaris's heart swelled with pride and relief. This child, the living proof of her family line, would survive, not just survive, but thrive. Hours passed, the immediate danger fading as the incoming vessels retreated or communicated their peaceful intent. Alaris exhaled deeply, lowering herself to Myra's level. The child's eyes shone, tired but triumphant. "Mama," she whispered, "we did it." Alaris pulled her into a tight embrace. "We did," she confirmed, feeling a weight lift from her chest. "And we will do it again whenever we must." Adam approached, a rare smile on his face. "Your family line is safe," he said softly. "For the first time, truly safe." Alaris held Myra close, feeling the warmth, the life, the bloodline that had survived impossible odds. "Not just safe," she murmured. "Alive and growing, always growing." Myra pressed her small face against Alaris's chest. "Mama, will we be together forever?" Alaris smiled through tears that had been held back for too long. "Yes, Myra, forever. The stars may challenge us, the galaxy may test us, but we are together. And together, nothing can break us." For the first time in decades, Alaris felt the weight of loss replaced by hope. Her family line had not ended. It had returned stronger with courage, love, and light. The Hall of Names would gain another shining entry, not a name lost to silence, but a living legacy. The stars stretched endlessly outside the station, vast and indifferent, yet now filled with possibility. And Alaris, holding Myra's hand and feeling Adam's support nearby, knew that no matter what the universe sent, her family would endure. The legacy was rekindled, and nothing could extinguish it.